Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio. Welcome back, everybody. Our next guest, she is a thought disturber. I mean, we're going to ask her what that really means. What does it mean to actually disturb people's thoughts, but in a positive way? Jan Barlow, she experienced the joy of being at the height of her business development career in 2007, working with a global pharmaceutical company aligned with her strengths. 3 months after being assigned a new manager, she was positioned to fail. This forced her to look at things a little bit differently, and in which she was not, she wasn't aligned with the next position that she received, and it manifested nothing but stress, and the stress created a physicality that caused her great loss, personally and professionally. After experiencing the negative psychological effects and physical effects of having a bad job fit, Jan vowed as her life's work to help position people according to their strengths so they could actually have the right job and the best career. And it was kind of these things that made her start to find herself with the title of being a thought disturber, because she made people think about their life and their career differently than what they would have previously to working with her. So why don't we welcome Jan Barlow to the show and find out how we can have our thoughts disturbed and learn how to think a little bit differently about ourselves and about the world we live in. Jan, welcome to the show. And I think I got it wrong in the introduction. I think I called you a thought disturber instead of a thought disruptor, but the result is the same. And why don't we start here, because you had an event happen in 2007 that caused you not only mental stress but emotional stress because of a bad job.
Yeah, it was actually a bad managerial fit. So I was working for a global pharmaceutical company. I actually created my own position there, and I had the best, of both worlds: clinical education trainer for the doctors and staff, and sales and marketing. So I could literally, when we sold them $1 million laser that's used in LASIK, I was able to go in, train them on how to use the device, hire the right people for the team, to work the laser and also be a patient counselor, and then put their business development plan together to start making money, right, and market their services. So I loved it. It's like starting a new business for, you go in, you sell a product or service, and you start that side of their business, and then you move on to the next doctor. So I really enjoyed that. Was recognized by our biggest competitor and was hired away from Alcon at that time. They were going through a merger and acquisition as well. So they needed people who could just, here's the goal, hit the ground running and start, doing the job and not really have any ramp up time. So when I crossed over, I made sure that when I spoke to the manager, because I love my job with Alcon. So I really didn't need to, change jobs. But when I was talking to the manager who hired me, she's like, Jan, this will be a good fit. We work well together, so it was a no-brainer. But 2 months after I joined, they moved my manager and gave me a new manager. And she did not really like the fact that she didn't get to pick me. And how managers do, they want to hire their own people. And so she changed my job. So that clearly I went from working in my strengths to working in my weaknesses, so to speak. And I just thought I had to try harder, right? And that just didn't work. My palms started to peel, my hair started to fall out, and it just really mentally, emotionally, physically, I was at the top of my game and was at the bottom within 7 to 9 months.
Wow. No, I do know that because I didn't always own my own business. um, that I remember working for a manager in the corporate world, and it really wasn't a good fit, and I was just trying to hang in there. I figured, oh, well, eventually I'll get enough sales, I'll get this guy's approval, and I'll in I'll build enough business relationships that this guy will start to like me, because he just simply put up with me. I would just, push me to the side of the room, sort of thing. And um the result of it was my physician at the time was prescribing Dilantin and all kinds of blood pressure medications and
Oh,
anti-anxiety stuff. And I was like, and for me, it just all of a sudden hit me. I'm looking at all these prescriptions in my hand, and I'm like, I need to change something else. This
yeah.
isn't the way to do this. Did you have that moment?
My moment was, at that time, I was sleeping 12 hours a day. I was so sick. I ended up, my friends, at that time when I lived in Florida, I had friends that were judges, doctors, and they were saying, look, go to my doctor. Here, go to my doctor. I went to 5 different doctors. And, the ridiculous advice that they gave, you know, wear organic yogurt on your head for 2 hours. Come on, every day. Come on now. For me, it was when I went to an iridologist, because it's like an ophthalmologist.
Mm-hmm.
So I was referred to an iridologist, and they said, it looks like you have adrenal issues. So I went to a specialist who that's what they did. But, the biggest for me was I was going to these doctors and getting these blood tests. And the blood tests were showing there's nothing wrong with you. Okay, at what point, sleeping for 12 hours and hair falling out and palms peeling, do you not see that there's a problem, right? So when I found the right doctor and took a saliva test, which is not common, it's more common than it was then, but to be able to have somebody positively identify physically what the issue was, right? So when he told me, he goes, here's your adrenal results, adrenal gland results. Here's above normal, here's below normal. Here, you don't even make the charts. I don't know how you got here today, and I don't know how you have not had a heart attack or stroke. So that was for me, that was the defining, that was like, okay, that's a problem. Like, okay, I mean, I know that I don't feel well or whatever. I know that's an issue. But for me to have, number one, identify what was wrong with me, and then the physical evidence, right? That's, and then experience the chaos. So for me, Michael, I had to get down to the very bottom. I had to go straight to the bottom before I said, okay, I got to do something different. So again, I probably lasted longer than I should have. But at the same time, I was trying to go to the company and work it out, talk to go to HR and go through the hoops to try to work it out. And because of the merger and acquisition, that HR support was not there, because nobody knew who was in charge. So when I kept on trying to resolve it, is they're supposed to help, they weren't. So, unfortunately, through that whole process. So to me, unfortunately, I had to go to extremes. I had to stretch it out before that was my turning point. That was at the very bottom, and then rising phoenix, if you would.
Yeah. You turned to the ashes and then blossomed again.
Because there's nowhere to go but up.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so yeah. What happened after that? Would you change jobs? What
So it
was
really
next?
was I mean, I got to be honest. I hit rock bottom. I lost everything. I mean, I got a divorce. I lost my home. Um, I then had to start, really when I thought, what really am I called to do? My biggest why is, when I started Better Job Fit back then in 2009, because it took a year for me to, get healthier. I got a divorce and, went and stayed with a friend of mine for 6 months just to get, back on, okay, let's move forward. Um, when I started Better Job Fit, it was about making sure that nobody else experiences this. Like what I want to do what I can do to make sure that, these individual work relationships, like these differences between people, don't get blown out of proportion, right? I mean, there's a way to address these issues, but know it up front, right? Don't wait for a disaster to happen. Like there has to be a more mindful way to work together. And so that's really how I started Better Job Fit. We started working with veterans and foster care alumni. So I
Mhm.
pretty much did job matching services for veterans and foster care alumni. And that's really how we started.
Wow. That's an important group of people, you know?
It is, because when you talk about a veteran crossing over from active military and then coming over to private industry, those are two opposite scenarios, right? And two opposite situations. The military, is pretty linear. There's not a lot of gray area when it comes to jobs, right? They kind of have their own system, but once you go into private industry, who knows what a gunny sergeant can do? Like, how do you translate your work in the military to private industry? And so a lot of bias, I know what I don't know, and recruiters, if they don't know what that job was about, um, a lot of military are put into really manual labor positions, and that's truly being underemployed. And then foster care, they're just shuffled. They're at the will of everybody, right? They really don't have a lot of independence or direction. They're just shuffled from one space to the next. They really don't have that sense of stability. So really, when it comes to creating their next or a job or whatever, they're left up to the will of others. And to me, I wanted to combine objective job matching science with a person's experience to really look at what their opportunities really are and to provide those opportunities.
So, okay, so that does lead me to a question, and it leads me to actually two questions. First question, knowing, because I have experience in the armed forces, and knowing that a gunnery sergeant, I mean, he's pretty much so, especially like if he's in the Marine Corps or something like that, that he's pretty much so like working with um a very high ranking officer, colonel, or higher, right? And it's like that's a lot of authority, right? So how do
It,
you
it,
go?
it is.
So how do you match somebody that's used to having that authority to something other than a manual labor job, because you don't understand that this guy's used to having authority. He's used to managing a large number of people.
Well, what's interesting, Harvard Business Review, this was probably 2000, the mid 2000s. So this technology is almost 20 years old. This artificial intelligence, job matching. So Harvard Business Review has written and proven job matching has nothing to do with your age, race, socioeconomic background, what school you went to, grade. I mean, has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the science of cognitive behavior and occupational interests. So you can have a gunny sergeant, right? I can give that person a menu of choices, like meaning matches. So out of 400 plus types of jobs in my library, in my database, I can run their results, and by percentage, it spits out a report that says what specific percent match they are to a certain job. So that gunnery sergeant could be a match to a financial advisor, could be a match to arts and entertainment, right? And it's this, and people go, well, how do you use that information? Well, the interesting piece that we provide is we sit down with people and we say, okay, what pieces of what you've done before, what do you really like, right? What are those aspects that you really enjoyed? So we're moving people from the left part of the brain to the right. So this unique job matching AI it gives you the 95% of what you would have no idea that you're a match to. That's really the biggest piece. It allows us to use science, objective science, to say, guess what? You're 87% matched to a financial advisor. And it's my job to help bridge what you've done before, and just using that category, financial advisor, people just automatically think, oh, you're going to sell insurance or health insurance or life insurance. No, that's not how I use it. We use that really as part of our search words when we go into the internet to start teaching people Boolean search terms. So, people, when they go to look for a job, they just go to Monster or Indeed or the job sites. Wouldn't you agree?
You know what? Okay, I'm going to tell everybody a little secret here. I've been doing this for so long that I wouldn't even know how to apply for a job at Walmart.
I
So
love it.
so
Yeah.
you're actually teaching me as you're talking, because I don't. It's like I've never used Indeed. I've never used Monster. The only thing I have ever used is for me to source like a camera person or
Yep.
audio person into a certain project or something like that. I've used different databases that way, but they're specific to entertainment.
Right. Well, it's interesting because most people are taught, I'll just go on the internet and go to these job sites and apply to whoever posts a job on those job sites, right? So not every company posts jobs on those sites. So when people say, "Oh, well, I just go on the job sites." Well, you're missing a lot of opportunity here to, to really see who matches you.
Right.
That's really what we teach. It's not about finding a job, it's about creating next. So let's say we have a gunny sergeant, and that person is an 87% match to a financial advisor, right?
Okay.
So we take keywords and phrases. We'll do a mind exercise, just a left brain, right brain exercise that gets them to think of keywords and phrases and duties that they love doing when they were doing that job. Then we'll mix it with their job match, high job match categories. And then we'll just start playing. We'll start entering those string words into Google to literally create a nomogram disruptor in Google, to where Google will spit out and give the person jobs, articles, everything specifically around those keywords and phrases that match the person. So right now, people go on Indeed and LinkedIn, etc., and they're limited to the search engine descriptors that are in that software. So they're so generic, technical, sales and marketing. That's just so general. We're able to help them identify those keywords and phrases and industries and job duties, to where we're going to enter them into Google and have Google give information to the individual, right? So they could be matched to a company that has a job on their website, posted on their website, that has those specific keywords and phrases that they would never have found anywhere else other than doing what we just did, right? I had a veteran yesterday. He has spent a year trying to find a job, a year.
Yeah.
And we sat down in within 30 minutes, just playing, I said, "Hey, Jason, what about such and such? Let's go do a quick search. A position at SBA, a position at a military contractor."
Hmm.
So he said, "Oh my gosh, I would have never, ever thought about connecting with the SBA or even thought about working for a government contractor." That for me is the biggest compliment, is when we can sit down in a short period of time and open up so much more and so many more opportunities for people that they would never have thought of themselves.
Right. Well, I do kind of actually relate to this because my last corporate job was so technical that and I became a dinosaur in the chemical end of the semiconductor industry
Oh
because
yeah, let me tell you, that was, especially in 2014, 2015, that was big in the recruiting
yeah, I
industry.
was put out to pasture in 2005. I was told that well, I'm going to blurt out what it is that I did, and you're going to hear how technical it actually is that most people don't even understand what it is that I actually did. Um, I used to run a uh, IC ICP PMS, which stands for inductively coupled plasma mass spectrometer, and I used to use that instrument to test down to for impurities down to the part quadrillion for the
Wow.
semiconductor industry, right? Now, what did I just
Wow.
say? If you're a recruiter, what did I just say to you?
Well, what's interesting is, first of all, I would want to know more about your day to day, what you did. But when just hearing it, and I'm not technical, but I sit there and go, well, first of all, the detail of that, I would think, like, uh, that was that a specialty position? Meaning, were there a lot of people in your position like that?
Globally, there was 200 of us.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, when you said that right off the bat, I'm like, that sounds like a chosen few.
Yeah, and the actual work environment was in a I'm going to dumb it down for everybody listening because I've already gone way too technical. I used to work in a NASA grade clean room.
I that's exactly what I had a vision download,
Yeah.
like a
So
surgical suite, like what I taught in, right? So it's a clean room.
yeah, yeah. And so when I was actually put out to pasture, I applied back into the chemical industry, like oil and gas, pharmaceuticals, all these areas that actually chemists would work in.
Right.
And they all like turned me down. They said, we can't use you. It's like you need to go. It's like seriously, go apply at the jet propulsion labs. And it's like, yeah, go apply at the jet propulsion labs. Well, that means that while my resume was warmly welcomed, it was warmly parked because
Wow.
there were
Yeah, in that
jobs.
industry. Right.
Yeah, it's like it's a again we're back to a highly specialized, highly limited, not very many people get in the door kind of a place
Right.
to work.
That see, that's where, like, I love situations like that because I'm like, oh my God, let's see what what our artificial intelligence spits out, like the report and the percentages. And I want to see, like, to me, I get really excited about that because um, that's, I take those keywords and phrases or the job matches really that pop out and look at your past experience, and we start to play on the internet with those descriptors, right? And you get into a totally different mindset. You literally get into, oh, I wonder what this is. Oh, this looks interesting. Wonder what this is. Oh, here's an article about top jobs that maybe include some of the descriptors that we put in, right? And you go and you read into it and see what it says. So to me, it truly is all about this discovery mindset, but having that technology and that artificial intelligence that gives us the matches that we would never ever be able to think of ourselves.
Wow.
I know it's so much fun every time
Yeah.
we do it. I when I hit the enter key after putting in all the descriptors, it's like I get the download of a slot machine in Vegas, to turn the handle. I wanted to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. It's what's fun is to watch you just get. I just gave you a little bit, and now you're all excited. Oh, I wonder what that would come up with.
I know. I'm like, that's what I'm saying. I just love that. It's like, oh my gosh, Michael, that would be so much fun.
So, in the end, but here I sit doing in arts and entertainment, doing as now as a filmmaker.
See, you see what I'm saying? People have no, like to connect the dots. Like now I could sit there and in if I learned a little bit more about what you were doing before, I can sit there and go, oh my gosh, well, that just makes sense. Right. It's
Mm-hmm.
just logical once you get aligned to that. What we're able to do is align those elements beforehand, right? To reduce the
Right.
um, chances of a bad fit or a bad decision, or, I want to make sure that people see all their options.
Right. So, you're because how we found each other on LinkedIn. And by the way, if you follow Jan Barlow on LinkedIn, you're one, you're going to get like 11, maybe 12 posts a day, but at least one of those posts is going to wake your mind up, at least for the day. At least one of them. And that's what's so much fun about following Jan. So I'm going to suggest to all of you right now, if write down Jan Barlow, and her last name is Barlow, and look her up on LinkedIn. and follow her, because it's that right there is going to open up your mind, because she's coined herself as a thought disruptor for a reason, and we can already start to hear how she's disrupting our thoughts. So keep going.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. And we have our three brands on LinkedIn. We have creating your next for anybody that's in transition or wants to again create your next, and we have Better Job Fit page, and then we have our Human Revolution Disruptor page. So, and just me. So that's why you're part of the whole Better Job Fit ecosystem. So you get everything that we produce.
It's like I know I've made some pretty interesting comments back, and I've also shared some of your questions and different ways of getting people just to wake up. Um, so is that one of your goals, is to actually wake up humanity so they can find a better fit for themselves in our society?
Well, I got to tell you, the vision of Better Job Fit is to raise the conscious awareness of the workforce.
Mm.
And, it takes a village to do that, right? I mean, because this whole level of awareness in our own individual journey of growth and expansion is a process. And old belief systems or these old paradigms of our world have been slowly disintegrating as time evolves, more so since 2020, because it didn't matter socioeconomic, it didn't matter where you lived. Everybody on a global level was, isolated and told, stay home, sit on the couch, and, you had very little distraction, right? We couldn't go out and 5 different places, run here or there. We couldn't go to the mall to shop. And so it really, when you think of individual awareness, when we get distracted, you're distracted, right? You don't think of your own individual growth and expansion. You don't think about maybe your values as much. You don't think about what you want to do in the future, right? But everybody on a global level experienced this, and it equated really to what was a lot of people refer it to as a near death experience. So because we were in fear for our life, right? So if you think about it, if anyone ever remembers Maslow's hierarchy of need triangle, right? The top is self-actualization, the bottom is food, water, shelter. And so it didn't matter, even if you had a roof over your head, emotionally, we were all put in food, water, shelter mode. So up here at the top, that self-actualization mode, or that pinnacle of the triangle, is where we think about the future. We think about, oh, what car do I want to buy? What vacations do I want to go on in the future? And when you get a whole world population that goes from here to down here, that puts the whole humanity really at a different perspective. That's why we had, continuing to have this shuffle of people quitting jobs, trying to decide what they want to do. I mean, we had, Michael, you and I spoke about this in 2020. 4.5 million people started, or 4.4 million people started their own business in 2020. 5.4 created their own business in 2021, and 5 million created their own business in 2022. So mainstream isn't talking about that. So we have this activity and action going on that's happening that the traditional world, mainstream media isn't talking about, but it's happening. So these changes of humanity and who we perceive ourselves to be, who we want to be, the cat's out of the bag. So I'm pretty stoked because this is a great time for Better Job Fit in all 5 of our of our family of brands, because each of our brands revolve around this human expansion and growth. So we're pretty stoked about it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, You did mention about that the mass media isn't talking about some of these things, but unfortunately, our establishment, created by these larger corporations, what they're trying to do to the independent media is stifle us from being able to talk about it.
That's why we need, that's why like YouTube and, the podcast channel, Spotify, that's how we're getting noticed. That's how we can have these conversations. It's so interesting because, at least for me, mainstream media really doesn't provide anything for me. I mean, it hasn't for a long time. So it's not really, productive. It doesn't feed me anything that uplifts me. So I choose to limit my exposure and what I want to be exposed to when it comes to that. But I think more and more people are being turned off by that negative and all this drama. That's just my perspective.
Yeah, I have to say that's a pretty accurate de- description of a lot of what people are doing, at least in the circles that I travel. Um, so how does a better job fit help people rise up so that they either create the job that they're looking for or find the job that they're looking for with everything that's happened with the pandemic, and how our society we're changing some of our goals, and they're not looking as corporate money grab as they used to.
That that's exactly right, Michael. Again, 2020 put everybody, took everybody off the streets and spending and a lot of that. And so, we looked around and said, well, I don't need some of the stuff that I used to have or used to do, I guess I could live without because I'm okay. I couldn't go on my, 3 homes or, whatever that extra stuff that people did. The reevaluation of what's important to them, the value system, what they can live with and without, what do they really want. That really put humans on a different level, and human behavior has shifted from a global position. Um, with us, we were already doing our Creating Your Next workshops. We had online and in person. Now we recorded some online courses to sell on, that they can download. Um, the online courses with Creating Your Next, the Human Revolution Disruptor Summit is the place and the platform where we're bringing people together from all industries and positions to talk about reimagine work and life. So like next month, we have 2 people that are going to be talking about collaboration, but get this, you're going to love this, Michael, holarchy versus hierarchy systems
Hmm.
of businesses, right? So structures. So right, here what's popular is hierarchy, right?
Right.
That's crumbling away. That's really can't sustain itself much longer. And so there needs to be a transition from that hierarchy, isolated silo, to now a more holistic. And next month we have somebody from really two aspects from holarchy and the traditional hierarchy, and talking about those two systems and where they're headed. Holarchy's it's happening now, but nobody talks about it, right? You
Right.
don't learn it in business school, at least not here in the States. You got to go to Europe to get that information. So that's what I'm excited about, is bringing that information to the masses here in the States, so they understand, hey, guess what? You're experiencing that it's not working in your company now. Here's a transition of the extreme of the opposite of hierarchy, but let's talk about a transition of how do we take that current system of hierarchy, how do we make it more holistic, right? And to fit into our world today.
Yeah. Yeah, they see that can become a whole nother another episode on another show that we actually do about human rights. Uh,
Oh my gosh, that's phenomenal.
yeah, we can have a field day with that. With that being said, though, one of the things I did notice was because, of course, we know in the United Kingdom that they had a monarchy change. Queen Elizabeth, of course, has passed on. May she rest in peace. Um, and King Charles has come along now, but it wasn't the number of viewers watching the coronation. It was the question that came with the coronation.
Ooh, do share.
Well, the question was, why did they spend so much money? Did he need to actually spend I don't even remember what the ridiculous number of pounds it was and how that translates into either the Canadian dollar or the US dollar, but it was a ridiculous amount of money to the people, and that's what counts. People actually question, why did this event have to cost so much money? So
It's especially after COVID. You see what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah,
before COVID, that wasn't probably an issue.
that may not
It
have
wouldn't
been.
even be
Yeah,
issue, right?
it wouldn't even been a question, but now people are questioning that. So when you're talking about hierarchy versus holarchy, then we're starting to see those same kind of shifts happening when somebody questions nobody. Before that, when nobody would have ever questioned
Uh-uh.
like the monarch spent how much money. The U.S.
No.
We might have laughed at it in the United States and in Canada. It was like, oh, it must have been so grand and so wonderful. Would have been the comments, but now it's like, did we really need to spend that?
That's what I'm saying, my friend, is again, this whole human behavior shift and companies that, if they're not, excuse me, if companies are not reevaluating their customer base
Hmm.
to tap in and to survey what those human behavior shifts are when it comes to products and services, they're missing the boat.
Yeah,
They're missing the boat. And that's really huge because you have any type of human behavior shift like that on a global level, it is going to now create a ripple effect and keep on moving and shifting. So we got like 5 years, there's every like we had a shift in a year, we had a shift 2 years, moving now into three. The next one will be 5 years after. Um, but you have mainstream just not realizing it's, to me it equates to hurricane, any type of natural disaster, because I lived in Florida for 20 years, so lived through three hurricanes. There is a cycle, there's a natural cycle that happens after a traumatic event. And so observing that, there's time cycles that happen afterwards. And so, but if your business isn't connected and understand those cycles, it's not planning strategically the right way. You know what I'm saying? They're still strategically planning from an old situation, not from the current holistic. When you have a disaster like this or a major global interruption or disruption that changes human behavior, there's a cycle that happens, a natural cycle and flow. And a lot of companies are not being proactive about it.
yeah, yeah. I totally get where you're going with that. Um, so what are some of the because like the old way of thinking is like, and you even said it in the company that you worked for before with the LASIK laser and all that, um, that you train them, train this group, you get them all set up, and then you move on to the next, right? And now the trend of thought is more about how do I build a relationship with this company so that I can continue to keep serving them.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because what made my region successful was that because I was moving them from out of the 10 stages of business growth, I was moving them from the infancy to go-go stage.
Mm-hmm.
So really three stages. So it was the implementation, getting the laser, and then going from infancy to go-go stage. I had a 90-day strategic plan for all, it was like, it's manufacturing, right? I mean, it was like clockwork. Like we just check, okay, this is what we need to do next, next, next. I think for me, because that's what I love doing, and I knew that challenges for a new practice, or, as a new evidence of a new business, to me, I I wanted that relationship because I knew it was going to be difficult for them to start up. So relationship to me was always important. What I liked about it was getting people ramped up, being able to get them up and running quickly to move to the next, and because that was exciting for me. But the relationship, because I'm a social person, that meant a lot to me as well. So to your point, though, I think companies really, they need to focus more on relationship, but they think how many followers they get on their pages or whatever, that is equal to success, and that's not true.
Yeah.
I mean, it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with engaging people.
Well, okay. So here's the fun part about what I do, right? Getting a number of followers gets gets shores me up with a relationship with my sponsors.
Oh, exactly.
But
Exactly.
see the key part is I have to have a relationship with the sponsors, right?
Correct.
And how does it, and and that's what people need to start examining, right? Is what does that look like? What does a
Well,
relationship with the person
that
who's actually in bed with you look like?
and when it comes to the sponsors, how are they using your audience, right? How are they leveraging? You know, they want their product or service to be seen by a lot of people. Well, that's great. You can pay per click for that, but it's advertising is supposed to make the phone ring. So they're paying for, people to see them, to make the phone ring, to engage with people. So the companies are not doing a good job in that engagement piece. So you can get their product or service in front of a lot of people, but really, how many people are they doing their job? Is the company doing their job to capture those people, right? What are they doing after they watch, after they're exposed to their product or service through your show? How are they using that opportunity to engage with people? And, for our summit, we don't have sponsors, we have supporters. And it's like literally a, 3 month, 6 month, 1 year engagement with our audience. And it's truly, between content creation, between our workshops, we have to have like that company that supporter that we work with and partner with, they have to be part of that whole experience. It's not about you want our mailing list. That's not how that doesn't work. I mean, it's not
Yeah, that
relationship
doesn't work
building.
anymore, right? It's got to go deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not a hot link and a logo. Yeah. So we don't do that.
There's got to be people are looking for more substance, right?
Yep. Exactly.
So, um, I'm realizing that we are actually starting to run out of time, and um, which means I had to go deeper with my questions now.
We got 2 minutes.
Yeah. What kind of world are you really trying to create with all three of your brands and with your social media?
Well, we have 5 brands: Behavior Diversity, Creating Your Next, the Human Revolution Disruptor Summit. We have our Creating Your Next social justice program that we started with our veterans in foster care. They say I'm a brand, so okay, I am. And then Better Job Fit. It really does revolve around, Michael. It revolves around raising the conscious awareness of human beings around reimagine work and life. That's really in each of our brands. It doesn't matter whether you go to a behavior diversity certification, a Creating Your Next workshop. It's peeling back the onion layer of your human journey and growth and development. Each of these brands really is about that. And so that's really what that family ecosystem looks like. It's just each of the brands peel back one layer of your human journey. And that's what we're really proud to provide to people.
Yeah. Okay. Best ways for people to join your movement.
So we're so excited. Join us on LinkedIn. They can reach out to me directly, jbarlow@betterjobfit.org. Join the movement. Join us on LinkedIn. We have all social except Pinterest. But you'll be able to get information on our next events, and whichever ecosystem, whichever brand you feel called to connect with, you can enter the our family of brands at any point and try the other ones out as well.
Awesome. So anyway, thank you for joining us today, Jan. It's been a lot of fun, and we got more work to do, don't we?
We do. I'm so excited, Michael. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I just love what you're doing and your mission and vision for the world as well. So thank you for including me.
Yeah. Glad to have you along for the ride also. So thank you everybody for listening today, and please do find that subscribe button wherever it is on your phone, tablet, or screen, and get more interviews like Jan's and others streamed right into your home. So we will talk to everybody later.
Bye.
Bye.
Help us to go.
This show has been produced by Depictions Media. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.